So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not there's an advantage to identifying on online resumes or online applications from Massachusetts. We're going to be answering a question from DC about whether or not they can take FMLA regularly. And finally, firstly up, from New York, a job interview mask question. So let's get right into the New York question. The question is, in a job interview, is an employer allowed to ask a candidate if they would be willing to wear a mask at work if asked? And the short answer is, yeah, an employer is able to ask that. However, I mean, technically this is true. I think that you don't want to work with any employer who ever asks that, right? But technically it's true. I could make the argument that for those disabilities that are adversely impacted by mask wearing, such as like COPD or something like that, there's a possibility where that could be a discriminatory question, right? It could be a question where you're discriminating against people of a certain disability who are unable to wear a mask because they physically can't. And I can see a world where that's a problem, and that is a discriminatory question. I would say that if a business wanted to ask that, they would probably get away with it because discrimination has been accepted in many aspects with respect to COVID. So I'm sure that they would get away with it. It would be discrimination elsewhere or in a different world, right? But because under COVID, again, discrimination was allowed, and specifically discrimination that circled around the physical nature and disabilities. The next one up is in DC, and it says, "Can I take FMLA regularly?" They have anxiety and bipolar disorder. Mental health has been especially bad the past few weeks, and they were looking for a day off for the next few weeks or one day every other week. Have you encountered this before? Absolutely. That's what FMLA is for. It's called intermittent FMLA. What really, if you have FMLA at this point, which it's not clear that they do, but if they have FMLA at this point, then the doctor should have written how many times that they can use FMLA, how many times that there will be an episode every week. And that's really where intermittent FMLA shines. So, for example, it could say, hey, you need to take 3 days a month or 5 days a week or whatever. And that's really what you kind of have to follow. It probably needs to be updated if you exceed that. But FMLA absolutely can be taken on an intermittent basis, which is, every once in a while and every so often. And it can be really frustrating for coworkers, but it is your right under federal law as of 1993. So take advantage of it. The next question up is from Massachusetts, and it says, "Is there any advantage or disadvantage to not identifying when filling out online resumes?" And they're using a website, and it asks veteran status, race, gender, and disability, and they always answer truthfully. But it says, "Is there any advantage or disadvantage to choosing, I do not wish to answer?" They go on and caveat it about whether or not he's right winger or whatever. But a lot of the people on Ask Reddit said, "Oh no, it goes to the hiring manager, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all." That's not really true. There are particular companies out there of which I'm familiar with, acquaintedly familiar with, that must interview at least one quote unquote diverse candidate for every salaried position they have. And so as a result, if you're the only quote unquote diverse candidate, that applies, then you would get an interview, and then you could shine during that interview. And that is absolutely exists, probably exists at more companies than we'd care to think about, but it does exist, and there could be value in identifying race, particularly if you're a diverse candidate. So it's something to keep in mind, something to understand, and to look out for. Well, that's it today on Human Resources for the People. If you liked what you heard today or were interested in hearing more content, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.